Okay, Professor Randon, I will now give some examples of some interesting strategy that can come up when playing this game. So obviously the core concept of the game will still remain around the biased dice, and in this example, it will be a two-player demonstration, um, with one dice biased towards 6 and one dice biased towards 1. And this dice that's biased towards 6 will be mine. I can confirm that these numbers are biased to 6 and 1 based on this purchase. Loaded dice rolls lots of 7s. So when you roll these two together, chances are 6 and 1 will come up a lot. So this will be my dice, 6, and this will be my opponent's dice, a 1. So let's say that I'm the red pawn and I'm very close to elimination, and I desperately need to land on one of the card drawing squares. So in order to achieve this, I have to make an appropriate prediction that lands me on the square and not go past it. Obviously, if I predict 7, I will just stay where I am. If I predict more than, let's say, if I predict a 10, that will give me a score of, if I predict 10 and it actually rolls on 7, I will get a score of 3, which will actually move me past the square 1, 2, 3, which I do not want that. So how do I get a score of 2? So if I can identify this late in the game that the dice are biased, -6, my opponent has a biased dice of 1, I can now cater my predictions in order to land where I need to. So obviously I should not predict 7. I should not predict 10. So I should probably predict 8, because by predicting 8, these two most likely will land on 6 and 1, and then I will get a score of 2, which will move me to the square I want. So now I've landed here. Now I must draw from the deck, which will move me backwards unless I draw a joker. A queen. So a queen gives me a score of 12. You can see the card guidelines on the PowerPoint, depending on which card you draw. Like queen, jack, king, those have numbers attached to them. So a queen gives me a number of 12. So I can now move back 12 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I've now landed on one of the sacrificing squares. So now I have an option. I can move 12 forward or 12 back. So let's think about this. If I move 12 forward, I will end up back on the card square, and pretty much I might end up in a limbo where it might move me backwards, and then obviously I can pretty much delay my demise as long as I don't go past it. If I choose to go 12 backwards, that means my opponent has to go 24 spaces backwards, and that would benefit him a lot. But however, going 12 spaces back is a benefit towards me too, because I'm trying to avoid landing on square 100, and moving down the board is a good thing. So let's say that we do decide to move 12 spaces forward. So I will end up back on the I will end up back on the card square. So now my opponent will move 24 spaces forward, which is a huge move, and it actually changes the game because now he's moved up significantly. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I'm pretty sure he lands here. So he lands, so now my opponent has landed on the sacrificing square. So now he has control. So now he has the option, he can move 24 forward or 24 back. And then if I move 24 forward, that means my opponent will automatically lose because he has to go, then he will have to move a total of 48 squares. which is an instant loss. So let's pretend I decide to do that, and obviously I won't be eliminated. I'll probably end up somewhere around, I don't know, maybe up here somewhere. And obviously he will be eliminated because there's no way 48 squares moving forward he will survive. So he's eliminated, I've won the game. Now this example is more of an anomaly because a lot of things would have to go this way in order for this to end up this way. But it's a pretty cool example. So I will now pause. So let's try another example. I might pause to collect my thoughts. Hey, Professor Randon. I apologize if I was calling myself both the blue pawn and the red pawn. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. Hopefully you understood the point regardless of that point of view mess up. So let's try another example of strategy. So let's see. Okay. So let's say that I will once again pretend to be the red pawn, and my opponent will be the blue pawn. Sorry if I end up saying that I'm the blue pawn. Sorry. So let's say that my opponent wants to end up on the sacrificing square, and he correctly predicts 9, because these are biased towards 6 and 1. The score is 7, so obviously we should make a prediction of 9 in order to get a score of 2. I'm sorry, I apologize if my math was off in my last clip. So let's say the dice does land on these 2 and I get a score of 2, 1, 2, and obviously I can go 2 forward, 2 back. My opponent will go double that amount, either 4 forward or 4 backwards. So let's say my opponent has a strategy of just continuously trying to land on this square. So he decides to go 2 backwards, planning to hopefully land again on that square to go backwards. So he lands 2. He decides to go 2 backwards, which will cause my opponent to go backwards 4, which helps them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. Maybe it's this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Yeah, that's right. So next round, again, he's hoping it will land on 1 and 6 to get a score of 7. So let's say he predicts 9. Again, it lands on those 2. He gets a score of 2, 1, 2. So again, he decides to go 2 backwards. So his strategy is hopefully to stay in the same spot and not go forward. Obviously, this is helping his opponent because now his opponent gets to go back another 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next round, again, he decides to do the same thing. Predict 2, and it does land on 7. He predicts 9. Again, it lands on 7. Again, he decides to go 2 backwards. And this, again, will cause me to go 4 backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4. So even though his strategy has been effective, he's pretty much stayed in the same spot, and it's worked out his way by identifying the biased dice. And the biased dice have actually rolled on those 2. He has pretty much stayed stable. However, me, the red pawn, has been moving backwards, which benefits me, and I'm getting closer to him. So obviously the strategy is not effective, because if he continues to do this, eventually I will keep going backwards, and I will eventually go past him all the way near the bottom. So this is not an effective strategy, but it can keep you stable, but overall it will help your opponent. So overall, I hope you've enjoyed my extra mechanics added towards my board game, Rolling Trickery. And hopefully I've addressed some of the issues from the midterm, such as one player winning by a large margin. I think I've worked on that. I think I fixed that. Obviously, this is a unique way to interfere in each other's strategy, which I've addressed. And the players will do their turns at the same time, so there's no waiting, no one getting bored. And there's a lot of communication going on since a lot of the gameplay is done at once. So hopefully I've addressed all your criteria for the chapter you posted on page 112, I believe, on the textbook, and you told us to look at that in order to see if our game has met the criteria, which we'll be looking for. Hopefully you like my idea and all the effort I put into it. Thank you, Professor Randon, for a great online semester. I've definitely enjoyed this class, and it's been fun to take a class that's very artistic based and also makes you think in a different way. I've definitely had fun, and it's a class that I'll definitely remember, and it's just, I'm really glad I chose this class as my art elective, and hopefully you have a great fall semester, and thank you for everything, Professor Randon. Take care.